For a second week, I dodged questions from Raoul about how I was and meeting up again, half hoping he would just disappear, but also not wanting to say goodbye to something I had been enjoying and go back to square one. I felt like I was stuck between two options. One was to be alone and calm and enjoy life to a relative extent, and the other was to date someone, have intimacy and company, but become so anxious that I lose my mind and most likely my job. Since that night at Raoul's, it felt like neither my mind nor my body were under my own control. I hadn't slept or eaten well. My jeans were beginning to feel loose, and, as my mum had pointed out the last time this had happened, I was shrinking. Finally, after 3 weeks of feeling like this, I'd had enough. I pulled the plug, messaging Raoul to say that it wasn't going to work for me, how sorry I was, and that I had enjoyed our time together, blah, blah, blah. Clive had rightly shamed me into not immediately blocking Raoul so he could at least reply, and I watched my phone for a response as if it was a slumbering beast who might wake and attack me at any moment. Raoul, for his part, expressed surprise, but overall was gracious, and that was that. The restaurant had also been in touch, asking me to come in, but I was embarrassed and didn't know how I would explain. So I ignored them and turned to an old contact who arranged nannies for the children of visiting performers at the city's opera house. There was a short job coming up, looking after the 18-month-old of a ballerina from the UK. I agreed, grateful to have some money coming in for a few weeks whilst I looked for something else. I arrived at the address I'd been given, remembering why I had loved taking these nannying jobs when I first arrived. Visiting the apartments that the performers stayed in allowed me to see a whole other side to the city, and although it was virtually the same central neighbourhood, it was worlds away from the smelly flat that I shared with Clive. Standing at the huge, beautifully carved wooden door, I pressed a loud buzzer, and a woman's full-bodied, but slightly stressed voice greeted me.
Hi, welcome, top floor.
She buzzed me through, and I made my way to the penthouse apartment via what was surely the world's smallest and oldest lift. The door was opened by a tall, very thin, very attractive woman.
Come in, come in. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. I'm Charlotte, this is Mark.
Hi.
Antigone's asleep, but she has a very strict routine, so she'll be up in... 7.5 minutes. Mark, all stations go, please.
What stations?
Antigone.
Greek. Noble and courageous, from the play.
Ah, yes. She hangs herself, right?
Yeah, but not until the end. Right, well, Mark will stay with you today, show you the ropes. You can leave at 8 p.m. There's a list of chores on the fridge. She's vegan, but she eats everything that's vegan. And if you could pop and buy some oat milk. Oat milk, not rice milk. Mark got the wrong one.
Avena Arroz is very similar.
Had to pour 3 cartons down the sink.
You didn't have to.
Right, I'll be back after rehearsals. I pray they fix the aircon in the auditorium or I'll have no choice but to involve my agent.
Thanks for stepping in at such short notice.
Oh, no problem.
Nerea said you're very good. Yeah, we had a young Peruvian, but Charlotte didn't take to her something about watermarks on the tabletop. And I'm sure your English is better, although you certainly charge a lot more. But no, you can't put a price on feeling secure about who you leave your child with. Yeah, especially when we're in here such a short time with Charlotte's performances. I have a Serbian back home. Her English is fantastic. It's not what you think.
I don't think.
Hard-working. Yugoslav stoicism, you know. Tough people, well, had to be. Charlotte's family are Austrian. Old money, very hospitable. Just don't mention the war. Yeah.
I'll check on Antigone.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, then let's go to the park. Play on the swings.
Mark, could you possibly grab the other end of the buggy?
Oh, yes, of course. She'll say.
It must be nice to be married to a ballerina. You must feel very proud watching her.
What? Oh, yes, very proud. Always have been. Do you know we were together 12 years before we had Antigone? A long time. Things have changed now, of course. You can't do something life-changing and not expect your life to change. Charlotte's very happy, of course. I just can't seem to find any joy.
Oh, well, I think sometimes it can take a while, and some parents don't really get it until the child's a bit older, maybe?
See, what no one tells you is it's actually quite boring. Same routine every day and very expensive. I lost my job, you see, while gardening leave. So I'm at home and Charlotte's here, there and everywhere, as she should be, feminism and all that. Charlotte's very strict with Antigone's diet. The vegan thing. I think it's an overhang from when she was younger at ballet school. Do you know they were told to eat cotton wool if they were hungry? She says she has a healthy attitude towards it all now, but I'm not so sure. Sometimes I slip Antigone some scraps of meat from my plate.
Like a dog?
Yeah, indeed. Just like a dog. Well, you'll be all right here if I go back. Got to continue the job hunt.
He passed by, patting Antigone on the top of the head with something resembling affection. I watched him walk off into the local shop before emerging a few minutes later with a carrier bag full of wine. Antigone and I played at the park, and when we returned to the apartment, Mark was asleep on the sofa, an empty wine bottle by his side. I fed Antigone, and whilst she napped, sat on the tiled floor of the hallway, reflecting on the last few weeks. I had thought putting an end to things with Raoul would make me feel better, and it had, a little. I could sleep and eat at least. But I was left with a deep sadness and a sense of confusion and a kind of anger that something nice had descended into something so physically and mentally unmanageable again. Why was I like this, and would it ever change? When had I stopped feeling okay with being promiscuous and a bit outrageous, doing things sometimes just for the story, and why? I had been a little brazen at one point, in the way I'd acted at least, and I did wonder if the dissonance between heart and mind, body and soul if you like, had caused the physical effects of the anxiety. Perhaps it was cumulative. Whatever the reason, I needed some help, proper help, not just online articles and clitoris cults. I began Googling English-speaking therapists. I clicked on the first link that came up, hesitated for a moment, then booked. Excitement and dread danced together uneasily in my stomach when I thought about what lay ahead, but I hoped, at least, it would give me some answers.
KSiCK by Erin McHugh, directed by Hannah Berrigan. In episode 4, Izzy was played by Sophie Trott, Charlotte by Rachel Pickup, and Mark by David Ricardo Pierce. Full details of all the episodes plus more information about the show can be found at our website at theprosceniumonlinetheatre.com. If you've liked what you heard, please do share the episode. It's the best way to help us grow our audience and make more shows. Thanks for listening.